Also known as Professor Xavier's dark side, Onslaught was a psychic entity created by merging the consciousness of extremely powerful beings, such as Professor Xavier and Magneto. He remained dormant for many years before finally acting on his intentions, and then he revealed his plan to destroy the X-Men. Onslaught was a powerful being with the ability to perform telekinesis and magnetokinesis, and many other cool things, and he truly left behind a legacy as one of the most dangerous characters that X-Men have ever faced. Today, we will explore his anatomy in detail and tell you all about this entity who stirred up trouble for the X-Men. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. How did Onslaught come into existence? Onslaught essentially came into existence when Professor Xavier reached his breaking point during a fight between the X-Men and Magneto's acolytes. Professor X was growing weary of Magneto's evil actions when the mutant went one step ahead and ripped out the adamantium from Wolverine's bones. Wolverine suffered serious injuries due to Magneto's actions, and he was even struggling to get better despite having a powerful healing factor. Professor X was unable to deal with this, and he was pretty exasperated with Magneto's behavior. He had already tolerated many of his evil plans, and he finally snapped and resorted to using his telepathic abilities to get rid of Magneto's powers. Professor Xavier was trying to shut Magneto's mind down, and he established a psionic link with the mutant. Magneto's feelings, including his anger and grief, started entering Professor X's consciousness and combined with the negative emotions in his brain. The reaction led to the creation of a new personality within Professor X's mind, and this personality is known as Onslaught. For quite some time, Onslaught remained dormant until Professor X started feeling negative emotions due to the increasing anti-mutant agenda, as well as the threat of the legacy virus. Professor Xavier's negative feelings finally impacted this psychic entity known as Onslaught, who woke up and started manifesting himself into the real world. He then invaded a government-sanctioned Sentinel base, and he later peeked through Xavier's mind and even came across Nate Gray, aka X-Man, and Franklin Richards. He then used these powers of these mutants and gained psionic abilities from Nate, as well as a reality warping powers from Franklin. Over time, Onslaught gained the ability to reprogram Sentinels and turn them into an army of robots. Onslaught then managed to pull Professor X's body from the astral plane and even escaped his mind, which was quite an impressive feat for a psychic being. He could then move on his own and make his own decisions, and Onslaught soon started exerting total control over Professor Xavier's mind and body. After a face-off with the X-Men, Onslaught finally revealed himself in a brand new physical form and attempted to destroy the mutant superheroes. Onslaught did put up a good fight, and we also realize that he has the ability to absorb any other mutant's powers. However, he eventually had to evade the X-Men, so he escaped the scene and took Professor Xavier's body with him. Did Onslaught have the most potent telepathic powers? Onslaught had a wide range of powers, but he is famously known for his telepathic abilities. He could read the minds of even the most powerful telepaths, and he had no trouble reading the minds of people who were physically far away from him. Moreover, he could also place information in others' minds or even create telepathic illusions that might trick someone into thinking they experienced something that did not happen. Onslaught also had the ability to control others' minds or even shut their minds and take over them completely. His telepathic abilities were so powerful that he could even exert control over someone as strong as the Hulk. He could also camouflage his thoughts and appearances and move undetached around other people. Moreover, Onslaught could create a mental shield that would prevent others from reading his mind. He could also sense the presence of mutants or superhumans and even possess their minds or alter their memories. Onslaught also had the ability to cause mental amnesia, which means that he could cause others to lose memories of certain events. With the help of his telepathic abilities, Onslaught could travel to the astral realm and even communicate with others astrally. He could even project psionic blasts that would not cause any physical injuries to his opponent, but rather affect their mind, to a point where the pain would make them fall unconscious or even dead. Exploring the true extent of Onslaught's telekinesis powers. Onslaught also had incredible telekinesis powers, and he could assemble or disassemble powerful objects such as circuit boards, explosives, and so on. He had tremendous control over every fine detail of an object, and he could even control the individual electrons inside an atom. He could also levitate objects as well as himself, and even detect the atomic weight of any molecule by sensing the number of atoms present, and so on. Onslaught's telekinesis powers also allowed him to create a telekinetic force field that could protect him from any external attacks. These force fields were powerful enough to protect him from something as minor as bacteria in the air to something as powerful as nuclear weapons and so on. Onslaught could create psionic spikes that could destroy any physical object that came in contact with it, and he could also use his telekinesis energy to create powerful blasts. His telekinesis powers allowed him to manipulate dust particles and vapor to create holograms by refracting light waves. He even had the ability to phase through any object by using his mind to shift his own bodily molecules to move past solid surfaces. How physically strong is Onslaught? Onslaught also possessed limitless superhuman strength, and he could easily lift more than 100 tons. Even when he was not completely evolved, Onslaught faced Juggernaut and managed to defeat him with just one punch. Onslaught's punch was powerful enough to make Juggernaut fall unconscious, and he then used his sharp claws to rip the Sidorak gem from his body. After evolving, Onslaught possessed extraordinary strength and could even stand up against the Hulk. Onslaught and his incredible armor. After exploring the astral plane, Onslaught used his psionic powers to manifest into a physical form. He soon appeared as a physical entity with a powerful, impervious armor. Onslaught's armor was nearly impenetrable, and it could not easily be harmed. Very few superheroes, such as the Hulk, had managed to create a dent in his armor, which otherwise protected Onslaught from any and all kinds of dangerous attacks. Onslaught's armor later appeared in Wolverine comics, where Logan and Maverick end up at Legacy House's auction and then sneak into the warehouse. The place was filled with numerous weapons and artifacts, and we can also spot Onslaught's armor hanging in the place. Magnetokinesis, one of Onslaught's most incredible powers. Magnetokinesis is one of Onslaught's strongest powers, as it allows him to manipulate magnetic fields and also exert control over the magnetic force. His magnetic force fields were powerful enough to withstand the impact of nuclear attacks, volcanic eruptions, or even the attacks of multiple superheroes. He can also move, lift, or even change the structure of any object by manipulating the magnetic field around it. He could even apply pressure on metallic substances until they liquefy and take a different shape. Onslaught sometimes even used this ability to manipulate or even remove the iron in one's bloodstream to make them fall unconscious or suffer from an aneurysm. In this way, he had control over his opponent's organic body to an extent where he could even kill them. He could also alter Earth's magnetic field and use magnetokinesis to increase his strength. Besides magnetic energy, Onslaught could also perceive electrical energy as well as the natural magnetic auras around living beings. He even had the ability to detect other forms of energy besides magnetic energy, and he could use this electricity, heat, radio waves, and even gamma rays to project energy. He could even take control over an entire planet's electromagnetic energy, and he had once even used these powers to create a wormhole in space. Is it possible for Onslaught to reproduce? Onslaught was essentially a psychic entity, and he was created unintentionally during an altercation between Professor Xavier and Magneto. Onslaught was focused on destroying the X-Men, and he had very specific goals that did not really involve establishing romantic relationships or reproducing. He also has not procreated or engaged in any intimate acts in the comics or in any storyline, and he has also not expressed any desire to do so. Thankfully, Onslaught's priorities do not involve reproducing, as he is a deadly entity, and multiple little Onslaughts would essentially be a recipe for disaster and destruction. Can Onslaught be destroyed? While Onslaught has been destroyed in the extended Marvel universe, it took a lot to defeat him, and he could not just be easily destroyed by any one hero. Onslaught was of the view that no one was worthy enough to keep living, and his final plan was to destroy humanity and then create a second sun. His wide array of powers also made him quite unbeatable, and it quite literally took an army of superheroes and mutants to finally defeat him. After Onslaught set his plan in motion, Thor and Storm tried to stop the climatic dramatic damage. While Hulk decided that he needed to use all of his strength to destroy Onslaught, he requested Jean Grey to turn off his human mind, which then resulted in the appearance of an angry Hulk, who was only focused on destroying Onslaught. Hulk managed to break past Onslaught's psi armor and shred it to pieces, which then caused this entity to explode and turn into pure metal energy. Thor then started dismantling Onslaught's physical form from within, while the other Avengers and the Fantastic Four aided him. Eventually, these superheroes rescued X-Men and Franklin, who were trapped within Onslaught's being. This did mark the destruction of Onslaught, and we can undoubtedly conclude that it would take a lot to destroy this entity. Even after being ripped to pieces, a manifestation of Onslaught's existence appeared in front of these superheroes, which hinted at the possibility of him returning in the future. Conclusion. To sum it up, Onslaught is quite an interesting entity, and he certainly has a unique origin story as well as a story arc in the extended Marvel universe. He has proven to be a deadly foe who cannot easily be eradicated, and his endless powers and ability have certainly helped him create a long-lasting legacy. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe.